Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Robin's Nest. Boy, do we have some fun stuff to talk about today. You know, I was telling my wife I would love to get on this channel when I make a video, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I'd love to get on here and talk about Formula One, IndyCar, which we are going to talk a little bit about that today, Supercar, stuff like that, and WRC. I'd love for that to be like the focal point of the channel, but it's like every day NASCAR does. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, because every day someone from NASCAR gets online, does an interview, and says something incredibly stupid, or they do something incredibly stupid, and it warrants conversation. And today is no different. One of the stories that I'm referring to is Steve O'Donnell going on another YouTuber's channel and talking about the playoff format. Now, I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but he said what they're likely going to do is test out a new playoff format in Xfinity and trucks prior to implementing it in Cup. And my response to that is, why? Why do you have to do that? I mean, you're NASCAR. You're supposed to be some of the smartest people in the business, allegedly. And you have to test out a playoff format in another series before implementing it in Cup? What? Did y'all go through this kind of process when you changed the playoff format the 5 times prior? Something tells me that you didn't. So why is this any different? Why does it have to... Like, it's like it just comes across as amateur to me. We're going to use our other 2 series as guinea pigs. The other 2 series never needed playoffs to start with, number one. Let's just be like completely clear about this. The Truck Series had a competitive championship more often than not, all the way down to the end of the season. There was no need for playoffs. That was stupid. And this process of not knowing what we're going to do before we do it, we got to hash this out for like years on end. It's a different method as to what was used prior. I'll give them that. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. Maybe, because the last few times that it was changed, we got like a worse product every time. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe, flushing it out will benefit everybody. Don't know, and I'm not optimistic about that, because, I mean, some of the most incompetent people in motorsports calling the shots, running the show. So, anyways, if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, or anything like that, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share this video, tell your friends. The works. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, racing memorabilia, anything like that, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. Also, check out our Facebook and X. Post motorsports content all day, basically, on both of those. Links for those are in the description as well. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. So Miller Lite is coming back to sponsor Jacob Abel. I think they've sponsored him before in IndyCar, and they're missing a golden opportunity. I think they should have 100% done what needed to be done to sign up with Santino Ferrucci. After what Santino did, I believe it was at Road America, ran out of gas after the race was over, was out in the sand trap, yelling at the fans, give him something to drink. They threw him some water, and then they threw him a Miller, and he cracked it open and drank it. And, it was on national television. It was no better brand endorsement than that. I mean, if it were me calling the shots for Miller, that's who I would have went to. Like, hey, AJ, Larry, what do we need to do to make this happen? Even if for a one-race deal. Nothing against Jacob Abel. I think Jacob is a really good race car driver, and he seems like a cool dude. But to me, it would have made more sense being with Santino. If you didn't see the news that broke yesterday, NASCAR is they're attempting to sell 2311s, and front rows charters before the court case begins. They stated that they have some genuine interest, air quotations around that, from potential buyers, and they'd like to get rid of them. Now, obviously that's all BS. Obviously. Not whether they have interest or not. They may. I don't know. That's not really the point. The reason that they're trying to sell them is to undercut the entire court case before it even begins, really. I don't see a judge allowing that to happen. I don't like. If that happens, the court case is null and void. There's no point. The whole thing is about charters in the first place. If they don't have charters, then there's literally no point. And then there's no point in the teams even existing. And then my thing is who's going to pay back the money that MJ, Denny, and Bob paid for the charters? You know, the charter agreement is a joke. Okay, it's been a joke since day one, and it's only progressively gotten worse. Someone was trying to argue with me. They're like, 2311 and front row are just trying to squeeze more money out of NASCAR. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But the argument that they made was, well, Rick Hendrick and Richard Childress and Roger Penske and Joe Gibbs, they all signed off on it. Well, yeah, because they got a better deal than what Denny's team did and Bob's, obviously. The whole thing, like, I love Rick Hendrick, so don't get me wrong. Like, I ain't saying anything bad about him, but the whole story about, we just signed it to make it go away. Yeah, I've worked for Rick. So I can tell you right now, that's not how he conducts business. If that's how he conducted business, he wouldn't be in business anymore. You don't just sign things to make them go away, obviously. Especially in a multi-million-dollar industry like NASCAR. And that's the top team in the sport. So, it stands to reason they got a better deal than everyone else. It's the reason they signed off on it as quickly as what they did and didn't fight it. But let's also be real. NASCAR does operate as a monopoly. The France and Kennedy family run the show, and if you don't like it, well, you can go somewhere else. That's been the mentality for the longest time. And look where it's gotten us. I mean, can you look at the sport today in 2025? And even as recent as 10 years ago, can you say that it's in a better place? I mean, I just don't see how you can make that argument. Yes, they got a really good TV deal. The TV deal is arguably what's keeping NASCAR afloat from a financial perspective. Outside of that, nothing, as far as from my perspective, nothing looks like it's healthier today than what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The financial landscape has changed in general in the country and globally. However, there are other entities that are doing arguably as well as what they were doing 10 years ago. NFL is a perfect example. And the reason you can compare the NFL to NASCAR is because back in the 2000s, if NASCAR wouldn't have shot themselves in the foot, their trajectory to eventually be competing with the NFL numbers. However, that ultimately didn't happen. There's too many things went on. Too much tinkering. You don't want to belabor that point and go back into it, but that's what happened. So, in what way has the current generation of the France family and the Kennedys, Lisa and her son, how have they moved the sport forward? Steve O'Donnell said yesterday, I guess it was in that same interview, he said, I don't understand what the point of this lawsuit is, because we would rather be focusing on growing the sport. Okay, why weren't you focused on that before the lawsuit happened? Why are we just now focused on that? That should have been from day one. And I've said this, and it's already blatantly obvious, is that Steve Phelps was terrible as NASCAR president. Steve O'Donnell is going to take it to a whole nother level of terrible. I'm sorry. I don't really care whose feelings that hurts. It's just a fact. And the reason I'm so hard on NASCAR is I grew up around the sport, man. And to watch it fall off a cliff like what it's done the past few years is it's just ridiculous. It's disgusting. I hate seeing it. I hate hearing it. I would love to see it back in the form that it was back in the 2000s. You know, with whatever changes need to be made, and I'm talking about popularity-wise, that's where I'd love to see the sport. I'm under the belief that it could get back to that point. There's a lot of guys who say, well, no, that ship sailed, it's never coming back. Why? It could. Everyone acts like they have this preconceived notion when they talk about NASCAR and the future of NASCAR that NASCAR is only going to be around for like 10 more years. As long as they don't go belly up, and as long as the world doesn't end, it would stand to reason that NASCAR is going to be around for a long, long time, just as long as what they've been around now, up to this point. So to paint everything with a broad stroke and say that we can never get back to what it was, I don't believe that. I don't. I think that's nonsense. I think we can, but I think the time has finally come for the France and Kennedy families to take a good long look in the mirror and say, we can't do this anymore. We need to bring another party in. We need to sell majority stake of the sport to someone else and let them run the show, because what we're doing is not working. Give Jim IMSA, send him back over there. That's obviously what he wants to do. Let Ben do day-to-day, I guess, with NASCAR, but someone else, similar to what happened with Formula One, similar to what happened with IndyCar, someone else needs to come in and run the show, because I mean, these people don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. It's blatantly obvious. Like I said, I hate to get on here and talk crap about them every day, because I'd love for it to be the other way around and get on here and brag about something that they've done. Yesterday was just a pretty dismal day in the grand scheme of things. They did release their schedule for next year, which obviously they were going to. Denny Hamlin said, he's like, now would be a perfect time for them to drop a schedule to distract everyone. He is right. And if you follow this channel for any amount of time, I've been saying that. That's, especially with this next gen car, if you've paid attention at all since they've incorporated that car, when people start complaining about the way that it races, the conversation always transitions to the tracks or the schedule. It's like, as if that's going to fix the problem. The tracks aren't the issue. Car is, but that's NASCAR's go-to. They know that they can get everyone engaged in a conversation about the circuits and the tracks, and it will divert your attention away from the actual issues that still exist, because you can change track, you can circle around all you want, but you're going to end up coming back to the same root issue. And that's in every aspect of the sport. Man, I would give anything. They should just make me CEO. I'd have this thing humming in a couple of days. And if there's a partner that doesn't like what we're doing, see ya. There's somebody else out there that'll take your place. I never would have signed a TV deal like that basically signed the sport over to TV networks. That's one of their main issues right now, is that they took the money from NBC, from Fox, Amazon, whatever, and then they handed over the keys to the sport, essentially. You give us your money, we'll give you the sport. That's all we care about. All we care about is money. That's another thing about this current generation of leadership. It's a monetary thing from them, from top to bottom. Whereas previous generations, Bill Jr., Bill Sr., actually cared about the product and actually cared about the sport. The new generation, bottom line, that's it. We don't care about anything else. How much money can we make off this thing? And, I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes, if Jim is still, doing some sort of day-to-day at IMSA. I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes, Brian is still calling the shots in the Cup Series. None of that stuff would surprise me. Don't know that it's true. It may not be, but I've been wrong before. But but this whole thing with the court case, like I said, if you want there to be fundamental change with the sport moving forward, you have to back these teams up. I'm no particular fan of Michael Jordan. I'm certainly not a fan of Bubba Wallace. Nothing personal, just not a fan. There are several guys out there that race that I'm not fans of. Not a fan of his. Denny Hamlin, I've got no real issue with him. It's whatever. I'm a big Bob Jenkins fan. Front row, huge fan. So, I fall on the side of the teams just from a fan standpoint of, I want to see Bob be successful. I don't want to see Bob chased out of the sport, or, for front row to go back to what they were in the 2000s where they were, an also ran, like a field filler basically, or go back down to having just a truck team. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see them be successful, but if they are successful, that could potentially be the first domino to fall for there to be substantial change in the sport. Now, I could be wrong, and it could not mean anything, but we'll see. That's it. A lot of people are kind of guessing as to what the team's actual positions are going into this thing. Denny Hamlin said that once the court case starts, everything will be out in the open. Can't really talk about it now, so I think it's kind of premature to speculate what they're actually trying to achieve. NASCAR knows. They can come out like they did yesterday and say we have no idea. All they want, that's nonsense. They know. So, we'll see what happens. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, anything like that, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. The works. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, anything like that, make sure to check out our eBay. The link is in the description. Also, check out our Facebook and our X for more motorsports content. Post over there daily on both of them. So the links for those are also in the description. As always, thank you guys for watching, guys and gals. Until next time, we'll see you. God bless. Peace.